Hello and welcome. Tonight, Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki formally joins main opposition People's Democratic Party, picks party's governorship nomination form ahead of party primary scheduled for Thursday, June the 25th. Rivers State High Court grants order stopping Victor Gardon from parading himself as APC's acting national chairman, says he already resigned as party's deputy national secretary in 2018. Northern elders call for end to protests against insecurity in the region as governors ask federal government to revisit ECOWAS protocol on free movement of persons in the sub-region. And World Health Organization warns COVID-19 pandemic is entering new and dangerous phase as it spreads faster in the Americas, Middle East and South Asia. Plus, business and news from Abuja, the FCT, and later from our studios in London.
On business news tonight, federal government to begin enrollment of new batch of N-Power beneficiaries next week.
On sports news tonight, the return of the English Premier League continues with Jose Mourinho's Tottenham Hotspur taking on former club Manchester United.
And from Abuja, federal government releases 4.5 billion naira to 31 federal teaching hospitals and medical centers to cover hazard and inducement allowances for health workers.
Thank you for joining us. We begin with politics in the South-South. Governor Godwin Obaseki has formally joined the People's Democratic Party in Edo State. The governor, who dumped the All Progressives Congress earlier this week, picked up his PDP membership card at the party secretariat in Benin City, the state capital, today. Governor Obaseki's decision to join the PDP has finally put paid to the suspension regarding which party he will move to following his resignation from the APC.
People's Democratic Party supporters throng the PDP secretariat along First East Circular Road in Benin City, the Edo State capital. The opposition party is set to become the ruling party as Governor Godwin Obaseki arrives to complete his move from the All Progressives Congress, APC. Mr. Obaseki heads to the executive office to make his entry into the PDP official.
Today I'm here to go through the formalities of registering as a member of this great party.
The chairman of PDP Edo State, Mr. Anthony Aziegbemi, and other executive members present Governor Obaseki with a membership card and party constitution confirming his acceptance. In his first address as a PDP member, Mr. Obaseki promises to provide exemplary leadership.
I am prepared to provide leadership that will lead this party to victory. And I'm prepared to provide leadership that will not only put PDP in office in Edo State, but as the ruling party in Edo State, we will make sure that the level of progress, the level of growth, and the level of participation in the political system by our people is unrivaled in this country. Amen.
The Edo PDP pledges support for the new party leader in the state.
Your Excellency, you are welcome, and just know that as the leader of the party, we look up to you for direction, for what you want us to do, and we are ready to follow you and do what you want to do.
Governor Godwin Obaseki says he is joining the PDP to continue with his ambition of seeking re-election for a second term in office.
Meanwhile, one of the first gifts from the PDP to Governor Obaseki as he joins the party is to grant waivers to him and his deputy, Philip Shuaibu. The waiver makes them eligible to stand for election into any public office on the platform of the PDP. And on the strength of that, Governor Obaseki obtained the PDP nomination form ahead of the party's governorship primary, now rescheduled for June the 25th. Clearance for the waiver was received from the ward, local government and Edo State executive committees following approval from the party's National Working Committee. And leaders of the PDP have been welcoming Governor Obaseki with open arms, including the party's presidential candidate in the 2019 elections, Atiku Abubakar. The former vice president, in a statement, congratulated Governor Obaseki for joining the PDP and expressed confidence that the people of Edo State will be the better for his choice. Alhaji Abubakar noted that Governor Obaseki was joining the party when the party is poised to deliver good governance to the people of Nigeria. He also affirmed his conviction that Mr. Obaseki will be an asset to the PDP. And staying in Edo State, the Federal High Court sitting in Benin City, the state capital, has adjourned to Monday, June the 22nd, for adoption of processes in the suit challenging the planned mode of the All Progressives Congress primary ahead of the governorship election. The suit is filed against the APC suspended national chairman, Adams Oshomole, INEC, and the Inspector General of Police. In the day's proceedings, the court dismissed an application filed by the IGP seeking to strike out the suit. Our correspondent, Jessica Ologwose, reports.
Heavy presence of security operatives at the premises of the Federal High Court in Benin City, the Edo State capital, as counsel seek to represent their clients in the suit challenging the planned mode of the Edo All Progressives Congress governorship election primaries. At the commencement of the day's proceedings in the suit, Kenneth Asehome and Matthew Duekere filed against 4 defendants, the All Progressives Congress APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC, and the Inspector General of Police IGP. The plaintiff's counsel informs the court of his readiness to adopt his processes. The defendants, however, have applications to move. One of the applications is from the counsel to the 4th defendant, urging the court to strike off his client's name from the suit, an application which the court denies. Another application for joinder of 3 parties, Usagi Ezeyamu, Pius Udubu, and Usara Obaze, is moved, with counsel submitting that his clients are interested parties whom the court's decision on the suit would affect. The application is dismissed.
The court overruled us, even though there was no counter, the affidavit we filed in support of our motion was considered by the party because they didn't file counter. So, in the end, we have also taken steps. We took steps immediately to ensure that we respond, and we have filed notice of appeal.
The counsel to the 2nd defendant thereafter informs the court of an application seeking to show why the suit should be dismissed.
We drew the court's attention to our application, which we filed this morning, that since the plaintiffs, they have been expelled from the party, and even the 2nd plaintiff, Matthew Ijora Kenwen, is no longer an aspirant because they have been screened out.
They sought for an adjournment that they should give them till Monday. And of course, we didn't oppose it because, but we made it very clear that the law is very clear on even the issue of the application.
The court subsequently adjourns to Monday, the 22nd of June for adoption. Jessica Olugwuse, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, another twist is emerging in the APC leadership controversy after a Rivers State High Court today granted an ex-parte order restraining Mr. Victor Gadom from parading himself as national chairman of the party. Justice Florence Siberesima ruled that Mr. Gadom is not qualified to act as chairman, having resigned as the APC Deputy National Secretary in 2018 to contest the 2019 general election as Deputy Governor of Rivers State. The court held that following his resignation, Mr. Gadom is no longer a member of the National Working Committee of the APC. Mr. Gadom is also barred by the court from taking any action on behalf of the APC in capacity of national chairman or acting national chairman. Meanwhile, Mr. Gadom has written a letter to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, introducing himself as the new chairman of the APC. And now to security matters, where the Northern Elders Forum is calling for the immediate suspension of all protests against insecurity in the region pending the outcome of recent deliberations between President Buhari and the service chiefs. The forum's Director of Publicity and Advocacy, Mr. Hakeem Ahmed, notes that there are plans to disrupt the peaceful protests lined up by the coalition of northern groups. 2 such protests had already been organized by the CNG in Niger and Katsina states.
Residents of Katsina town seemingly showing their displeasure with the government of the day concerning the rising wave of insecurity in the northwest and other parts of the northern region.
We are vitally so angered, we are so sad, we are so devastated in a situation whereby our fellow brothers are being massacred on a daily basis. Our fellow sisters are being massacred on a daily basis. Our mothers are being raped. Our people are being kidnapped.
The challenges of insurgency, rustling, banditry, kidnapping and other forms of criminality has continued to plague the region. A situation that already led to 2 protests in Niger and Katsina states before President Muhammadu Buhari sent a delegation to some of the affected states to assess the situation and then met with the security chiefs in the course of the week.
We took cognizance of some positive developments since the Mina and Katsina marches. President Muhammadu Buhari has appealed to the people of Katsina State, to be patient as plans to clear the state of bandits are underway. After the marches, President Buhari dispatched a high-powered delegation to some states in the northwest to meet with governors and convey his concerns and plans to take firmer action against banditry, rustling, kidnapping, and raping.
The Director of Publicity and Advocacy of the Northern Elders Forum, Mr. Hakeem Ahmed, appeals to the coalition of northern groups, CNG, to suspend its other planned marches for now.
The Northern Elders Forum has consulted with the coalition of northern groups, has counseled the coalition of northern groups to suspend its marches and explore additional avenues with other groups and individuals to sustain the momentum and keep the government on its toes.
Now that the call for the suspension of protests has been made by the Northern Elders Forum, all eyes will be on the federal government's eventual outcome of its deliberations with the service chiefs, which should help in improving the security in the northern region.
Meanwhile, as part of the measures towards curbing insecurity in the northern part of the country, governors in the region are asking the federal government to revisit the ECOWAS protocol on free movement of persons in the sub-region. This formed part of the resolutions of the Northern Governors Forum, which met via teleconference to review the security situation in the area. The governors also want the federal government to fast-track the livestock transformation plan, which they say will assist in creating jobs amongst farmers and herders. The Northern Governors meeting was presided over by its chairman and governor of Plateau State, Mr. Simon Lalong. And in the area of security enforcement, the military says troops of Operation Lafia Dole have been recording more success in their onslaught against Boko Haram insurgents in Borno State. According to the coordinator of Defense Media Operation, their latest feat is the destruction of the terrorist tactical command at the Sambisa forest area, where some of their fighters are said to have been neutralized. The operation was executed after it was established that a prominent compound was being used by the insurgents to coordinate their operations in that area. The Nigerian Air Force fighter jets were dispatched to attack the command center, as well as some surrounding structures. In part 2, after the break, Ogun State government suspends planned reopening of churches and mosques to further contain spread of COVID-19. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television, Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki formally joins main opposition People's Democratic Party, picks party's governorship nomination form ahead of party primary scheduled for Thursday, June the 25th. Rivers State High Court grants order stopping Victor Gyadon from parading himself as APC acting national chairman, says he already resigned as party's deputy national secretary in 2018. Northern elders call for end to protest against insecurity in the region as governors as federal government to revisit ECOWAS protocol on free movement of persons in the sub-region. And World Health Organization warns COVID-19 pandemic is entering new and dangerous phase as it spreads faster in the Americas, Middle East and South Asia. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Please subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using a mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. To the Child Rights Act, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has promised to encourage states governments who are yet to domesticate the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015 and the Child Rights Act of 2003 to do so. Professor Osinbajo describes the increasing cases of rape and defilement of minors as a blemish on the collective humanity and dignity of Nigerians. The Vice President made the observation after he held a virtual meeting with the National Human Rights Commission over the recent cases of sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria and the way forward. His meeting with the NHRC follows a wave of protests across the country against increasing cases of rape and sexual violence against minors. He emphasized that violence, rape, and sexual assault have no place in society. Now, the National Human Rights Commission and National Association of Women Journalists in Adamawa State, NAWAJ, have also joined their colleagues in the country to lend their voices to the fight against rape and gender-based violence, while the NHRC took its campaign to the Adamawa State chapters of the two major religious bodies of Christian Association of Nigeria and the Muslim Council of Nigeria. NAWAJ was at the State Secretariat. They say the upsurge in rape cases in the state and the country has become alarming.
These women in Adamawa State, through their voices and placards, are also protesting the upsurge in rape and gender-based violence in the country. Members of the National Human Rights Commission are in a 5-day activism to drive home their message.
Say no to rape! Say no to rape!
They take their campaign to the Christian Association of Nigeria and the Muslim Council for support.
We see you as a gatekeeper and a strong, powerful hold in the nation, because religion plays a powerful role on the conscience, moral, and standards of a general human being.
The law enforcement agencies should rise up to their responsibility so that if any case of sexual abuse or rape is taken to them, it is investigated and it is not played with.
Your action program for the next 5 days is timely and is welcome, and you can count on the support of the Muslim Council to achieve that objectives.
Another group, the National Association of Women Journalists, is also on the streets of Yola for the same reason. Their placards and looks speak volumes. Their walk ends at the Adamawa State Secretariat.
We are here to show our grievances, our displeasure. We are calling on the government to declare an emergency on rape in Adamawa State because it is becoming alarming. The pandemic is more than coronavirus.
I want to assure you that the government will do everything at its end to see that this evil menace come to an end in the society.
Pressure continues to mount on government at all levels to institute a justice system that will benefit rape victims so that incidents of rape can be curbed.
We now join our Abuja studios for more stories. Here's Linda Akigwe.
Hello, Lumide. The federal government has released 4.5 billion naira to 31 federal teaching hospitals and medical centers across the country. The money covers hazard and inducement allowances for the months of April and May. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngigi, announced this in Abuja after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. Correspondent Ibrahim Adra reports.
Resort to strike action by professional bodies in the country is not new. The latest one by the resident doctors came on the back of a 14-day ultimatum which expired Sunday. The Executive Committee of the National Association of Resident Doctors then held a virtual extraordinary meeting and resolved to down tools across the country. Those in COVID-19 isolation and treatment centers were however exempted for 2 weeks. Some of their demands include life insurance for members, payment of salary shortfalls, as well as hazard and inducement allowance for COVID-19. 5 days into the strike action, federal ministers took the matter to President Muhammadu Buhari after attempts to resolve the impasse failed.
This particular case, it has been important because of the strike action of resident doctors to report to him how things have been. We have to report on the implications and the consequences, the possible consequences of such a strike action.
One immediate outcome is that the federal government is doling out 4.5 billion naira to cover special allowances.
The Ministry of Finance reported that as this morning, 3 a.m., that they have paid the allowances for hazard and inducement to 31 teaching and federal medical centers and special hospitals of the federal government service, 31 of them, and they have expended close to 4.5 billion in the payment because we are paying them for the arrears of April and May.
There is a promise to follow up with the payment for the month of June. Mr. Ngige, however, says the states have a role to play.
You don't mix apples and oranges. The issue of health is on the concurrent list. So the federal government will do their own, and the state governments are also expected to do their own.
On issues involving state governments, the Minister of Health says his ministry can only intercede. He then makes a passionate appeal.
The pledges that have been made will be fulfilled, and I do hope that they would as urgently return to work as we would like it to be.
The strike action coming during a pandemic with figures of those infected by the coronavirus climbing steadily, some say is the beginning of the collapse of an already overstretched healthcare system. So, do the striking doctors think the federal government has done enough? Will they go back to their patients? These are the questions that need to be answered, and answered fast. From Abuja, Ibrahim Adra reporting for Channels Television News.
In the meantime, Ogun State Governor Mr. Dapo Abiodun has announced the suspension of the planned reopening of religious centers across the state. According to Governor Abiodun, this has become imperative in the face of the rise in community transmission and spread of the virus in the state. He made the declaration while briefing journalists in Abeokuta, the state capital, just as he announced that the current ease of lockdown from Monday to Friday is still in force.
As a responsible administration, we chose life and the well-being of our citizens and are therefore constrained to take the painful but necessary decision to maintain the current regime of ease of lockdown in the meantime. We are consequently suspending our initially slated reopening of places of worship. Let me thank some of our religious leaders who, by themselves, advised that this is the best decision that we should take at this time in the best interest of all of us. This is not an easy decision, but we are confident that the wisdom and scientific basis for this decision will become clearer to those who may have initial misgivings about it. Since the advent of this pandemic in our state, our cautious, methodical, data-driven, and scientifically supported approach has ensured not only comparably superior outcomes, we've also not had reasons to reverse our decisions because our decisions are usually well thought out.
300 stranded Nigerians in the United Arab Emirates have arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. The arrival of the evacuees was announced by the chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Mrs. Abike Dabiri-Erewa, in a tweet. Mrs. Dabiri-Erewa also tweeted the arrival of another batch of 50 stranded Nigerians from Pakistan. According to the chairman, all evacuees are to observe the compulsory 14 days self-isolation according to the new protocol by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. The latest arrivals follow an earlier announcement of the departure of an Air France flight from Paris to Lagos today with 15 Nigerians on board from France, Germany, Belgium, Holland and Estonia who had registered for the evacuation with the Nigerian missions in these countries. To Judiciary, discharge your duties without fear or favor. That's the charge given by Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Muhammad, to the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongam-Mensem. The CJN gave the charge after swearing in Justice Dongam-Mensem into office today in Abuja. And to achieve great strides in the nation's judicial system, Justice Muhammad asked her to work closely with presiding justices of the Court of Appeal.
Families, friends, colleagues, and top government officials converge on the conference room of the Chief Justice of Nigeria to celebrate with the new President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongam-Mensem.
I, Monica.
She takes her oath, promising to contribute her quota to the judiciary.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That I will preserve, protect and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God. Your Excellency.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria then offers his words of advice to her.
Certainly, you will see that there is no one court in this country that has the number of justices that the Court of Appeal has. Therefore, that shows you that Court of Appeal is a home of work. Court of Appeal is the home of cooperation. You have to cooperate together, all of you, from top to bottom, so that the work will continue to progress.
The Governor of Sokoto State and Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Judiciary speak on the expectations from the Court of Appeal going forward.
I wish her every success, and I have the conviction that by the grace of God, the Court of Appeal of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will witness more and more positive changes in the days and years ahead.
In a post-COVID era, to make sure that taking advantage of the electronic or technological innovations that we have, that litigants are going to get justice, not only for political matters, but most especially justice on commercial, quick justice on commercial cases, so that we can build our economy in a post-COVID era.
The Senate on June the 10th confirmed Justice Monica Dongam-Mensem as the President of the Court of Appeal, a position she has served in acting capacity since 2019. She takes over from retired Justice Zainab Bokachua.
We'll bring you more stories from Abuja when the News at 10 returns. Plus, federal government to begin enrollment of new batch of NPower beneficiaries next week. That's on Business News. Join us again. You're welcome back to the News at 10, coming to you live from Abuja. On the corporate side, Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, SNEPCO, has presented the Lagos State government with medical and other equipment that would help combat the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the managing director of SNEPCO, Mr. Bayo Ojulari, the donation is part of the NNPC-led oil and gas industry COVID-19 support program.
Medical equipment for different purposes, intensive care unit ambulance, 150 kVA generator, solar hybrid solution for alternative power supply are delivered to the Lagos State government at the mainland hospital Yaba to treat patients infected with the coronavirus. This support is coming from Nigeria's pioneer and leading deep-water oil and gas producer, Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, on behalf of the NNPC and Shell companies in Nigeria to help the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic tame the spread of the virus.
The primary thing is the PCR machines and test kits. It includes a high-grade plasma apheresis machine, and that aids the atomic separation of blood plasma, which can aid the proper management of COVID patients.
For the Lagos State government, this donation could not have come at a better time.
You've given us kits, you've given us monitors, because right in that corner there is one of the most sophisticated IC units. And it's important that we have an IC unit within the COVID response, because you can't take patients out of here to a hospital. You will just contaminate the hospital.
Shell Nigeria and the NNPC reiterate their commitment to the well-being of their partners and the communities they operate from, and these items will assist the health workers contain the virus.
We have nebulizers, automatic external defibrillators, suction machines, oxygen concentrators, and several other consumables that will help Lagos State and all the isolation centers take care of their COVID-19 patients.
The GMD of NNPC have made the commitment to the federal government for a $30 billion contribution of the industry to all the states and all around Nigeria.
With Lagos State still battling the spread of a deadly virus, these state-of-the-art equipment will definitely go a long way towards containing the pandemic.
Chemical and Allied Products PLC has resolved to remain resolute in taking advantage of opportunities to grow earnings, improve profitability, and deliver returns despite the effects of the coronavirus pandemic on businesses. This assurance came from the board of directors to shareholders at the company's annual general meeting in Lagos.
The conduct of the annual general meeting of Chemical and Allied Product PLC is done in compliance with the directives and guidelines aimed at curbing the spread of COVID-19.
Please be informed that the following directors of your company are joining this meeting online.
The meeting is also streamed live through the company's website for shareholders attending by proxy.
Strongest paint company in sub-Sahara Africa.
Shareholders receive and deliberate on the company's financial statements and reports for 2019. The financial highlights show that profit in 2019 did not reflect the company's projection. However, its revenue and assets grew significantly.
COVID-19, as we all know, has brought with it unprecedented disruption and uncertainty. And the organization looked at quantifying the impact of this. Unable to quantify, two urgent things were done. One was to rein in on cash flow immediately. And two is to prioritize strategic initiatives.
The account is not bad, though there is room for improvement. I believe that 2020 account will be better by end of 2020.
Despite the present economic condition, the management promises a boost in sales and higher profits in 2020.
When we went into lockdown, all our business stopped and we were put on hold. As we're coming out of lockdown now, we are still following the same strategy. We believe there's enough business out there that if we really focus on the right strategy we have, and that strategy is about growing our volume, growing our product range, growing our distribution, and investing in our people, then we will achieve the goals which we set before the lockdown.
The company says it will work closely with its trade partners and customers to drive its volume and channel growth ambitions in 2020.
And that's all from Abuja. Back to you and on business news.
Thank you, Linda. Welcome to Business News. The federal government says it will commence the enrollment of the third batch of beneficiaries for the NPower scheme next week. That's June the 26th, following consultations and review of submissions for reform of that program. The statement from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development says the enrollment of the Batch C of beneficiaries will enable more Nigerian youths across the country for the NPower project, in line with its mandate of lifting citizens out of poverty through capacity building, investment, and direct support. The NPower scheme, which was inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari in 2016 under the National Social Investment Program, has enrolled 500,000 beneficiaries so far, with 200,000 from Batch A, which started in September 2016, and 300,000 from Batch B, which kicked off in August 2018. Africa's biggest cement producer, Dangote Cement, has once again made history with the exportation of 27,800 metric tons of clinker to the neighboring African country from its export terminal located in Apapa Port. The feat achieved by the company has now received commendations from the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, which says it is capable of boosting Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and reduce unemployment in the country. The Group Executive Director of Dangote Group, Mr. Sada Ladan Baki, says the increased exportation of the product and cement to other African countries will not only place Dangote Cement among top exporters in the world, but it would also boost Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and reduce unemployment. He made the comments during the departure of the ship conveying clinker from the export terminal right here in Lagos. Now, from this, the Dangote Cement Export Terminal is expected to also place Nigeria as one of the leading clinker exporters in the world. In addition to this, industrial giant says that it plans to increase the quality of the export to other African countries within the next few weeks. The Central Bank of Nigeria has collected 216 billion naira from the commercial banks with excess cash holdings, and this is part of measures to support the local currency, the naira. Bankers say the liquidity withdrawal is coming before a foreign currency auction was conducted today, as the CBN seeks to manage the forex rate using the CRR cash reserve ratio. The naira has been hitting new lows on the over-the-counter spot and the black market since March this year, after the central bank adjusted its official rate and has come under intense pressure due to lockdown measures used to control the spread of COVID-19. The federal government has thrown its weight for the nomination of the former coordinating minister for the economy and the minister of finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, for the position of the Director General of the World Trade Organization. This comes after the African Union on Thursday declared her nomination for the top job was not in line with the rules of the AU, as it came after the November 30, 2019 deadline set by the Ministerial Committee on Candidature for member countries to present their candidates. In a diplomatic note addressed to the African Union Commission, the federal government insists Dr. Okonjo-Iweala's nomination did not violate any law, as it was a replacement of a previously presented candidate, Nigeria's permanent representative to the WTO, Ambassador Yunov Aga. The stock market's total value has dropped further by 55 billion naira today to close below 13 trillion naira level, and that's after investors extended sell pressure on blue chip equities. Let's hear more from Bisi Adebayo.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Reports. What could have turned out to be a positive close at the equities market was again truncated by a massive 6.47% decline in the share price of industrial heavyweight Dangote Cement. This comes as investors remain concerned about a second wave of coronavirus cases, especially in Nigeria, as the country recorded 745 cases on Thursday, and this had a major effect on the market today. This was also evident in the sectoral performances. Virtually all the major sectors we tracked were in the red, except the industrial goods counter, which was lifted by another big boy in the market, Boa Cement, although this was not enough to prevent the main index from shedding 0.43%. Volume and value were also not impressive as well from what we see here. However, investors say one thing is sure, and that's the fact that Dangote Cement will recover from today's losses next week. But that will also depend on the outlook for COVID-19 as they remain cautious of their investments. And that's it on the stock market reports. I'm BC Adebayo.
That's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful weekend. It's back to you, Lumide.
Thank you, Anne. To the Niger Delta region, and the management of the Niger Delta Development Commission has been talking about their contribution in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. The acting managing director of the commission, Professor Keme Bradikumo Pandey, was speaking during a meeting with the leadership of the Niger Delta Youth Council in Port Harcourt, the state capital. The intervention of the commission, according to him, is to cover all 9 states in the Niger Delta. He laments what he calls the frequent change of management, blaming it for the underperformance of the commission.
We have distributed the medical equipment to all the 9 states. The medical equipment included ventilators, included PCR machines. The PCR machines are the only things that have not been distributed because we were trying to work with the NDDC to increase testing capacity in the Niger Delta region. So they were supposed to come and calibrate and see how they can be deployed into use. Their chief lab scientist was caught in a lockdown. If not, he will have come for it. But we have communication with the DG of the NDDC. We've spoken about them. 54 PCR machines. 54. With mobile X-rays. For the first time, some hospitals have not seen mobile X-rays, hemodialysis machines, hospital beds.
Still ahead on the news at 10, World Health Organization warns COVID-19 pandemic is entering new and dangerous phase as it spreads faster in the Americas, the Middle East, and South Asia. Plus, more stories from our London studio with Around the World in 5. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The World Health Organization has warned that the COVID-19 pandemic is entering a new and dangerous phase. The Director General says Thursday had seen 150,000 new cases, with half of those coming from the Americas and large numbers also coming from the Middle East and South Asia. According to him, the virus is still spreading fast and the pandemic accelerating, calling for extreme vigilance from countries who are eager to open their economies. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news and Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The coronavirus may have been circulating through countries across the world much earlier than previously thought. Italian scientists say sewage water from 2 cities contaminated with coronavirus had traces in December, long before the country's first confirmed cases. The National Institute of Health said water from Milan and Turin showed genetic virus traces on the 18th of December, despite Italy's first official case being registered in mid-February. In Spain, a study found virus traces in wastewater collected in mid-January in Barcelona, some 40 days before the first local case was discovered. Meanwhile, the EU has begun the process of approving an unprecedented stimulus package for countries' economies affected by COVID-19 and the subsequent lockdowns. Under discussion is the EU's next budget of around €1.1 trillion for the years between 2021 and 27, and an attached recovery fund of a proposed €750 billion. The aid is to be dispersed mainly among worst-hit nations like Italy and Spain, but there are still disagreements about the final size and terms of the package.
Today we take a crucial step on the road out of the crisis. I am very happy to present to European leaders our recovery package called Next Generation EU. This proposal is ambitious and it is balanced. Together with the new MFF, this is a huge stimulus of €1,850 billion. And it does not only help the economies of the countries which were hit hardest by the virus, it also helps the countries whose economies have been hit hard indirectly because of the lockdowns.
The Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has said that a sophisticated state-based actor has been attempting to hack a wide range of Australian organisations for months.
It is a sophisticated state-based cyber actor because of the scale and nature of the targeting and the tradecraft used.
The Prime Minister added the hacking attempts had been stepped up recently. Mr Morrison said there were not a lot of state actors that could launch this sort of attack, but Australia will not identify which country they think is responsible. The Chinese Foreign Ministry says it never detained Indian soldiers after the clash between the two armies in the Himalayas, after Indian media reported 10 of them had been released by the Chinese authorities. It comes after the two sides fought with nail-studded batons and hurled rocks at each other in the disputed Galwan Valley. It was the deadliest clash in 45 years, and at least 20 Indian soldiers lost their lives. The Chinese ministry also added that the right and wrong is very clear and the responsibility lies entirely with the Indian side. Facebook says it has taken down posts and ads run by the re-election campaign of the US President Donald Trump for violating its policy against organised hate. The ads show a red inverted triangle with text asking Facebook users to sign a petition against Antifa, a loosely organised anti-fascist movement. Meanwhile, Twitter has labelled a video tweeted by US President Donald Trump as having manipulated media for the first time. Clicking on the prominent warning that Twitter attached to the tweet brings users to a page where Twitter warns the president shared a version of the video which many journalists confirm was edited and doctored. Malawi will go to the polls on June the 23rd, a week earlier than initially ordered by the Constitutional Court. The court ruled on February the 3rd that a fresh presidential election would have to be held due to widespread systematic and grave irregularities in the previous vote, which saw the incumbent Peter Mutharika narrowly winning the election. The initial date for the new vote was July the 2nd, but the Parliament voted a resolution to anticipate the vote, preventing the government to amend the constitution before the new poll. The Colombian army has freed 2 foreign nationals who have been held hostage by FARC rebel dissidents. The 2 foreigners had been kidnapped by members of the revolutionary group in March, and they demanded $1 million for their release. The FARC demobilized under a 2016 peace deal with the government, becoming a legal political party, but several top commanders have rejected the accord and chosen either not to demobilize or to return to arms. And finally, Sri Lanka has opened its first underwater museum in the southern port city of Galle to encourage tourists to drive back in. The museum was built by the country's navy and is about 15 metres underwater within the port. The statues in the museum were made from discarded concrete and steel by navy personnel. One of the aims of the underwater museum project is to promote the regeneration of corals and fish breeding. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
We're starting off in the English Premier League. Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes combined to rescue a point for the Red Devils Manchester United FC in their 1-1 draw with Tottenham Hotspur. The game began with the players taking a knee in solidarity with the movement for racial justice in faraway United States. Steven Bergwijn gave Spurs the lead on 27 minutes with a solo run and finish, but then Pogba, the World Cup winner, came on as a sub and won a penalty which was duly converted by Bruno Fernandes, the Portuguese international, in the final 10 minutes. Elsewhere, Southampton beat Norwich 3-0 to push the Canaries closer to relegation. Pep Guardiola says Leroy Sané will leave Manchester City FC this summer if a deal can be agreed with another club after he rejected a new contract. City have been trying to persuade Sané to sign an extension to his contract, which expires in 2021, but the 24-year-old has set his mind on leaving the Etihad. German champions Bayern Munich are the frontrunners to sign Sané.
Said he don't want to extend the contract next season, so means he want to leave, and it's going to happen this summer on end of contract. I'm so disappointed, of course, when we make an offer on players because we want him. He's a young player with incredible potential, with incredible quality, special quality that is difficult to find all around the world. But we tried before the injury, we tried before the go to the surgery and after that, but he rejected. So he has another wishes, and I understand.
And development has begun for the first Nigerian and African ice curling rink in Calabar, Cross River State. The project, which is in its early stages, will have 2 ice facilities for curling and other ice sports, 5 dedicated sheets, restaurants, bar, shopping, gym, conference rooms and training center. According to the president of the Nigerian Curling Federation, Daniel Damola, the facility is expected to be completed by December 2021 if everything goes according to plan. And that's sports news.
And the main news again. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki today formally joined the main opposition People's Democratic Party. He picked the party's governorship nomination form ahead of party primary scheduled for Thursday, June the 25th, after he and his deputy were granted waiver to contest for elective office. Also today, the Rivers State High Court granted an order stopping Victor Gadom from parading himself as APC acting national chairman. And that's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Do have a great weekend.